So good morning and welcome everyone to NetSuite for Life Sciences webinar by Eureka Solutions. My name's Johnstone. I'm a solution consultant here at Eureka Solutions and I'll be running today's webinar. Thank you all again for joining this morning. So before we get started, we'll just go over a quick agenda. So today we're going to be covering who we are first of all, so who we are here at Eureka Solutions. Quick overview of what Oracle NetSuite is. Now, some of you may already be familiar with NetSuite, and some of you may have only just heard of it. So we'll do a quick overview just so everyone is aware of what the solution is. We'll then go into some detail as to why NetSuite is suitable for life science businesses, and then jump into an overview demonstration, which I'm sure is the reason that most of you are here. We'll also be hosting a Q&A at the end, so we'll make sure that we've got some time set aside to answer your questions. So during the session, if you've got any burning questions, then please feel free to use the Q&A function, and I will address those questions at the end. If you've got any questions following today's session, if you want to look at NetSuite and how it would be suitable for your life science business, then please also feel free to get in touch, and we'd be happy to discuss this further. So first of all, just to start, who are we here at Eureka Solutions? So Eureka Solutions was founded in 1996 on two core principles, which we hold true today, those being technical expertise and excellent customer service. Now, what we do is we provide implementation, development and support for NetSuite, which of course is the reason why you're all here today, as well as having a Sage 200 division and our own integration application, bSyncly, which I will discuss in more detail later in the session as well. From 2004, we have grown from a staff of 3 to over 70 today, with the majority being in technical roles, once again focusing on that technical expertise as one of our core principles. Now, as part of this focus, we have a mix of part qualified accountants and Prince 2 qualified project managers, so making sure that all of our staff are well versed in what they need for their role. Now, touching on the customer service as one of our core principles, we, as part of every support case, we distribute a customer satisfaction survey using Customer Sure. Now, our customers then have the opportunity to rate our service, and with over 7,000 reviews and counting, we're currently sat at 9.7 out of 10 for customer satisfaction. Now, with Customer Sure, these reviews are impartial and they're also posted live on our website. So please feel free to have a look at our website and look at the feedback that our customers have been leaving us on our service. Now, with a combination of focusing on the technical expertise and customer service, we have been able to maintain consistent growth. Now, that's been across revenue and staff as well. As you know, we've grown, as well as our customer base, and we will touch on our NetSuite customers that are in the life science space as well later on in the session. So in terms of NetSuite, we have various different awards in terms of ourselves as a solution provider of NetSuite. Now, we started in 2012 as a NetSuite solution provider, and that year we received the recognition as the EMEA New Partner of the Year. Now, since then, we have delivered over 95 NetSuite projects, so we're getting ever so close up to that 100 mark. Last year, so in 2021, we received recognition as NetSuite 5-star partner, which is the highest award as a partner of NetSuite. We also received recognition as the UK's best performing partner 2021 as well. So I mentioned it briefly earlier, bSyncly, which is our integration tool. So it was formerly called Cloud Data Exchange, but we've actually recently gone through some rebranding, so you may have heard of it by the previous name. But bSyncly is our cloud-based integration tool, which automates the transfer of data between systems. Now, this is all developed and supported by our in-house team here at Eureka Solutions. We have experience connecting with various different third-party systems, including CRMs such as Salesforce, Amici for procurement software, and e-commerce websites such as WooCommerce and Shopify. So if integrations is something that's important as part of your ERP project, then that's something that we can assist with our bSyncly integration tool. Now, bSyncly is customizable and extendable, and we've got experience with APIs and flat file integrations as well. So regardless of the system that you're looking to integrate, then we can have a look at that using eSyncly. So what is NetSuite? NetSuite is the world's #1 cloud ERP system. It was founded in 1998 and acquired by Oracle in 2016. Now, NetSuite is a true 100% cloud-based management system. So since 1998, NetSuite has always been on the cloud. Now, some cloud ERPs have been repurposed from previously on-premise solutions. This is not the case for NetSuite. NetSuite was born in the cloud. NetSuite provides one database for multi-company financials, ERP and CRM, as well as much more, including HR and e-commerce as well. Now, with this one database, it means that you have one source of the truth. So instead of having siloed information, you have all of your data in this one database. NetSuite, as a true cloud product, can be accessed on any device at any time, anywhere. So say, for example, you're on the train and you can access NetSuite using your laptop. Now, with the acquisition of NetSuite by Oracle in 2016, the security and privacy has only increased. So there's now enterprise security and privacy in place, as you would expect from any high-level ERP system. Now, with NetSuite, there is also an availability commitment, which is 99.7%. Now, in reality, the availability and uptime of NetSuite is much higher. Now, I checked before the webinar today, and for the previous year, the uptime is currently sitting at 99.98%, so well above that availability commitment of 99.7%. With NetSuite, all customers benefit from automatic upgrades every 6 months. Now, this means that everyone is on the same version of the software. These updates are rolled out biannually, so there'll be different stages in which these upgrades are rolled out, and all customers benefit from additional functionality and improvements as part of these upgrades. So NetSuite really is the final ERP that you'll have to buy, as it provides this ongoing improvement with these upgrades. Now, all of these points combined have resulted in over 31,000 customers worldwide that are currently using NetSuite. So it is very much a tried and tested ERP system. So as mentioned, NetSuite is one database, so focuses on this one unified system as a single truth of source in terms of your data. So NetSuite offers multi-subsidiary, multi-language, multi-currency, and multi-tax functionality, meaning that any number of subsidiaries within your group structure can all be part of this one unified database, which of course for the likes of consolidation is extremely useful and less time consuming than the manual consolidation that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. You'll see here as well that we've got a wide range of solutions within NetSuite, from ERP and financials to Suite People, which is the HR module, CRM, e-commerce, PSA, as well as having the built for NetSuite developers. So there's a wide range of third-party developers which have created Suite apps which are built for NetSuite to further extend the functionality that is on offer. So in terms of relevant customers that belong to Eureka Solutions in the life sciences industry, we have a number of different customers here. Now, this is just a sample of some of our customers. And if there's any here that look of particular interest, then please feel free to get in touch and we'd be happy to discuss how NetSuite is used by these customers. Now, just to touch on a couple of these, first on the list there is Achilles. Now, Achilles are a biopharmaceutical company that develop novel cancer immune therapies targeting clonal neoantigens. They implemented NetSuite whilst they were still in the startup phase to support their rapid international expansion. Now, just to go through a couple more of these customers that use NetSuite here at Eureka Solutions, we have also got Synox Therapeutics, who provide life-improving options for people living with giant cell tumours. They selected NetSuite and Eureka Solutions to assist with the consolidation pains that we mentioned earlier. Now, I won't spend the time to go through each and every one of these, but just finally to flag up another one, Cambridge Cognition are a new neuroscience digital health company that develop products and services to better understand and treat conditions affecting brain health. Now, before they implemented NetSuite, they struggled with siloed information and limited reporting capabilities, and selected NetSuite and Eureka Solutions as the answer to these pain points. So just briefly on the methodology that we follow when we're implementing NetSuite for our customers, we use what is called the Suite Success methodology. Now, with Suite Success, we focus on bringing as much out-of-the-box functionality as possible based on industry-leading practices. So with Suite Success, NetSuite offers pre-built functionality, including user roles, dashboard reports and KPIs, as well as process workflows. Now, Suite Success is a sales and implementation methodology. So unlike some ERP projects, we spend a lot of time during the sales phase to make sure that we fully understand your business's requirements, and that means that you get a quicker time to value. Now, with Suite Success, you're up and running quicker than traditional deployments, and there is also the option to follow an implementation stairway. So with the implementation stairway, we look to expand on the initial phase over time. So looking to avoid the pains of a big bang implementation and implement only the core functionality that is required, whilst bringing in additional functionality and modules over time. So why NetSuite specifically for life science businesses? So there's a number of reasons why NetSuite is the ideal solution for life science companies. Now, to begin with, this Suite Success methodology of bringing pre-built functionality with a phased stairway approach, we have found is particularly relevant for life science businesses. So it means it is suitable from pre-revenue drug discovery all the way through to the clinical stage of development. Now, this means that life science businesses can take advantage of only the functionality that they require and build on that over time. So this means that if you are a startup, then you can get a system in place which is future-proof for growth. Now, with NetSuite, there is also a full system audit trail across records and transactions. So any changes that are made in the system will have a record of who made those changes and when, which of course is useful for those that are looking for SOX compliance. Now, beyond that, NetSuite is configurable and customizable, so it's easy to extend and integrate. If there are any specific customizations that you require within NetSuite, then this is possible. And there's also, once again, the option to integrate with any third-party systems using either API or flat file structures. NetSuite also supports international expansion with the multi-company, multi-country and multi-language functionality. Now, we understand that this is often part of the either current or future growth strategies of life science businesses, the international expansion. And with NetSuite, you can have a number of different companies across a number of different countries, all part of the same unified database. NetSuite also provides real-time visibility through the out-of-the-box dashboards and KPIs, which we've found for life science businesses is particularly of use for investors, so making sure investors have access to the information that they require. Now, beyond that, and perhaps more generally, NetSuite automates key business processes, which you'll see today during the demonstration when we run through the end-to-end procure-to-pay process within NetSuite. So in terms of all of these benefits and points that make NetSuite the perfect system for life science companies, it's also good to look at proven benefits of NetSuite. So what a system like NetSuite will actually provide. Now on the screen just now, you'll see an independent research which was carried out by SL Associates into NetSuite customers and the benefits that they received from the system. Now you see here that there's big wins across the board, but perhaps the one at the top there is the most relevant in terms of the visibility and actionable insight, increasing on average between 50 and 80% from those surveyed. You also see that there's big wins in the time to close financial books, for example, this being reduced from between 30 to 55% on average, as well as the overall staff productivity across the accounting team, increasing from 30 to 50% on average. Now, once again, this all comes down to the different processes that are automated within NetSuite, meaning that staff can spend more time adding value instead of carrying out manual tasks, which is the case in many other systems. So that's it for the slides. Try to keep it fairly short on the slides, as I know a lot of you will be keen to see NetSuite and see it in action. So if I just open up my browser here, you'll see that we're just on a Google Chrome browser. Now, once again, NetSuite is a true cloud product, so you can access NetSuite from any supported device on any supported browser at any time. So you see here, we're just simply on a Google Chrome browser here, and we're on the NetSuite landing page. So if I just come up here to log in, I'll just log into the demo account that I've got set up for today's session. Now, there's various different options in terms of single sign-on, in terms of multi-factor authentication, to make sure that you're keeping your system safe. Now, you see here, we've logged into our demo account for today's webinar. Now, this is an example of a financial first suite success version of NetSuite. So with Financial First, this focuses on bringing the core finance requirements to the business, and then allowing the company to expand over time and grow alongside NetSuite. Now, just to take a step back from our home dashboard, we'll come up to the top right-hand corner and show you that NetSuite is a role-based system. Now, you see here a variety of different roles, some of which we will go through as part of the demonstration. Now, these all come out of the box, once again, based on leading practices and based on the 31,000 plus customers that are currently using NetSuite and the roles that they use. Now, these roles all come with defined permissions and access across the system, but of course, these can be used as a basis to then tweak further and make sure that everyone in your company that needs access to NetSuite only accesses the areas that they require. Now, coming up to the top here, you'll see that we have got a global search bar. So this allows us to search for any data that's in the system. So say, for example, we type in computer here, we'll see that we've got a couple of suppliers with computer in the name, as well as the contacts from these suppliers. Now, the same applies for transactions. So if we're looking for certain invoices, if we're looking for certain purchase orders, then we could search for that using the global search bar. Now, coming down to the menu structure here, you'll see that there is a traditional menu structure with a modular breakdown of different areas of the system. Now, you'll see as we go through the demonstration and change between the different roles that these vary based on the level of access that users have to the system. Now, beyond the ability to navigate through the system using the global search or the traditional menu structure, you can also navigate through the system using the home dashboard. So the home dashboard is the user's main homepage. It's their landing page as soon as they log into NetSuite, and it's got all of the information that they require to make actionable insights and make informed decisions across their function in the company. So you see here, we're currently logged in as the CFO, and we've got an out-of-the-box dashboard, which is all focused around the high-level visibility that the CFO requires across the business. Now, we will go through each of these sections in a bit more detail, but you'll see that the home dashboard is made up of these different sections. Now, it completely is up to the user how they want to configure their home dashboard. There's drag and drop functionality, meaning that users can decide exactly where they want these different sections to be, as well as the option to add and remove different sections here. So you see, for example, we can add additional KPI meters, we can add report snapshots. So say, for example, there's a report in the system that you want to have that visibility of, you can add a report snapshot to your home dashboard and then drill into that information from there, making sure that you've got that full visibility. Now, coming along to the reminders, you'll see here the reminders gives that actionable insight. So what this user has to do as soon as they log into the system. So you see here, we've got some approval processes here, so POs and expenses to approve, as well as more general new customers, new vendors, and so on. You'll see here as well that we've also got visibility of invoices that are over 30 days old, over £50,000 in value. So making sure that we're tracking these invoices and they are getting the attention that they require. Now, this is an example of a custom reminder. If there's any data in the system and you want to have that pulled onto the home dashboard, then you can create a save search to produce those results and have that displayed as a reminder as soon as you log into the system. Now, in terms of the setup here, you'll see that it is extremely easy to add and remove sections here. Say, for example, we no longer wanted the journals to approve reminder, then we can remove that, click save, and you'll see that's now removed from our home dashboard. Now, these different reminders can be followed, as you will see during the process flow part of the demonstration. You'll see as well that there's the option to add highlighting rules, so making sure that we're bringing the necessary attention based on the number of outstanding activities across these reminders. Coming along to our KPIs, you'll see that the KPIs give that high-level overview across the entire business for our CFO. Now, you see here we've got different KPIs ranging from our revenue to our card balance to our expenses and so on, allowing us to compare trends here. So for most of these, we're looking at this period versus last, or the end of last month versus this month, and so on. You'll see if we hover over these figures, these are also drillable, so we can drill down into the transactional level of detail if we see these figures and we decide that we want to interrogate further. Now, beyond that, you have the option to create these trend graphs and pull them onto the home dashboard, meaning that we've got that full visibility of our KPIs. Now, as with the reminders, it's completely up to the user, the KPIs that they want to see. So you see here, if we come into this screen, we've got the option to add standard and custom KPIs. Once again, just to highlight, if there are any specific KPIs that you want to track, then custom KPIs can be created to do so. So you'll see here, this is where we decide the period range that we're looking at, as well as the comparison range, and whether we want to headline these and create that trend graph for our home dashboard. Now, coming along down the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see that we've got a couple of examples of KPI meters looking at our revenue and total bank balance, just allowing us to compare this period versus last period with more of a visual there, so providing that insight in a slightly different format. You'll see here that, once again, it's extremely easy to select the KPI that we're wanting to view to make sure that we've got that information on our home dashboard as soon as we log into the system. Now, scrolling down here through our home dashboard, you'll see that we've got our tiles and our navigation shortcut groups, which once again are just other ways to navigate through the system. So in this case, we've got some key reports and pages that the CFO would have to access on a regular basis, meaning that they can get to the P&L quickly and easily. Once again, on the navigation shortcut group, just different areas of the system that they may want to access on a regular basis. Now, whether you're using the global search, the traditional menu structure, the navigation shortcut groups, or the tiles, you can still get to where you need to be in NetSuite. It very much is the user's preference. Now, scrolling down here, you'll see in the middle we have got our subsidiary navigator. So as mentioned, NetSuite removes all of the pains of consolidation by bringing all of the companies in the group structure into one unified database. So you see here in this demo account, we have got our parent company, and then we have got a Netherlands and a UK subsidiary, which are rolling up into our parent company. You'll see here as well that we've also got what's called an elimination subsidiary, which holds all of the data for the intercompany eliminations that have taken place. Now, with having all of the companies in the group structure part of the one unified database, it means that consolidation is much easier, and it also means that we can automate this process. Now, another benefit of this is the visibility that this brings whilst having this all in one system. So at the moment, we are currently looking at our KPIs and our home dashboard for our full parent company here. But say, for example, we did want to filter this down just to our Netherlands subsidiary, then we can select Netherlands here, and you'll see all of our KPIs and all of our figures updating here. You'll also notice as well that the currency has changed from GBP to Euro, just indicating there that the base currency, so the functional currency of this subsidiary is in euros, but it still consolidates and rolls up into the GBP for our parent company there for the high level reporting. So if we just change that back, you'll see by clicking on our parent company, that refreshes and we've got our full consolidated view of our entire group structure. Now, of course, just to note as well, it may be the case that certain employees only need access to certain companies within the group. And of course, this can be achieved with using the permissions that are on their role within NetSuite. Now, just scrolling down, you'll see that we've got another couple of examples of trend graphs. On the right-hand side, we've got our revenue by period trend graph. Once again, there's various different options in terms of how we visualize this trend. You'll see here as well that we've also got the option to change the KPIs, add additional KPIs, change the trend type, so how we're looking at this, whether it be monthly, quarterly, or annually, and change our settings in terms of how we want this to be visualized. Similarly, on the left-hand side, we've got our monthly AP balance trend. Once again, just making sure that we've got that insight across the company. Now here we have got a financial scorecard. Now, similar to the KPIs, this provides details across the high-level financial figures for our CFO. So you see here we've got all of our key figures from our bank balance revenue to our operating expenses, our net income, and so on. Now you see here as well, these figures are also drillable as with the KPIs, and we also have the option to create trend graphs on the fly. So say, for example, for our revenue here, we can create this trend graph, select the visualization that we want, the type of graph, and then we also have the option to download this, so full access to the data to bring this out of the system as well. So once again, these home dashboards do come out of the box with the user roles that come with NetSuite, but they can be customized and configured by the user to make sure that they've got the access to the information that they need in the format that they want. Now, coming back to the KPIs, as mentioned, these figures all come from different reports that are within the system, meaning that they are all drillable. So say, for example, our expenses, if we wanted to interrogate this figure further, we can use that browser functionality. So we could open that in this current tab, but say, for example, we wanted to continue working away on our home dashboard whilst interrogating these figures further, we can open this up in a separate tab. We can keep on working away here whilst opening up our P&L on a separate tab there within the browser there. So you see here we have opened up our P&L, and just to show you the ability to drill down, you'll see here if we click into our revenue, we have a breakdown of all of the transactional level of detail here. So say, for example, we then did want to interrogate these invoices further. Once again, we can use that browser functionality to open these in a new tab. Now, I'm not sure if anyone has been counting the number of clicks there from the home dashboard. That's taken around 3 or 4 clicks to get down to that transactional level of detail. So you see here we've opened up an invoice and we can see all of the transactional level of data that make up that consolidated figure. Now, coming back to the P&L, I'll just change the period range here at the bottom to make sure that we've got enough demo data. So there's various different options in terms of the date range that you're looking at here, as well as the option to select a custom one. Now, just to make sure that we've got enough data, I'll just select our 4th fiscal quarter last financial year, and you'll see that updates from October to December. Now, if we just refresh that there, you'll see that we've got our updated P&L for this date range. Now, one thing that you may notice about the P&L is that it is fairly streamlined in terms of nominals. Now, NetSuite's leading practice is to keep the chart of accounts as streamlined as possible and use classifications which are tagged on transactions to slice and dice this data further. So you see here in our column tab, we have got some examples of classifications. So in this demo account, we have department, class, and location, but you can have an unlimited number of custom segments, allowing you to slice and dice your data depending on what you need to report financially across. If we take our departments, for example, and refresh this, you'll see that we get a full breakdown of our departmental P&L. So we've got a breakdown based on cost centres here. So we've received a question in the session here today. So just a question about the session being focused on finance. So yes, of course, we can touch on other aspects as well. And if there is anything in particular that you're wanting to address in any further detail, then we'd be more than happy to set up a session with you specifically to make sure that we can cover the details that you want to see. Now coming down here, you'll see that we've also got location as an option to filter and slice and dice our P&L. So once again, being able to report across different locations. Now in this case, we have got a couple of different locations in each of our subsidiaries in this demo account. Now coming up here, just using class as another example, class has been set up to show different revenue streams in this case. So looking at treatment A versus treatment B versus treatment C. Now, of course, depending on your requirements, these classifications will vary depending on what your requirements are. So what you need to slice and dice that financial information and that financial reporting by. Now, beyond that, you'll see here that we are currently looking at the full consolidated parent company, but we can also use our subsidiary as a column here. So if we refresh, you'll see a side-by-side comparison of our Netherlands and United Kingdom subsidiaries, all rolling up into our parent company there as well. Now, as well as that, we may just want to view our totals for our companies in their base currency. So if we filter this down on our subsidiary context to Netherlands, once again, refresh here, you'll see that this updates our P&L and we're now looking at our Netherlands in our base currency here for this company. Now, if we just open up this more tab, you'll see that we've also got a number of different options in terms of filtering reports. So looking at different classes, different customers, departments, even different products and so on. They are all options to filter down our reports. Now, coming across the bottom here, you also see that we've got the option to customize, so to make our own reports, our own version reports, as well as various different options here in terms of accessing the data. So we can pull the data out into Excel, PDF, CSV, and Word. Now, beyond that, there is also the option to print our reports, as well as email and set up schedules. So if there's any users outside of NetSuite that require reports, then these can be set up to be distributed on a recurring basis. So just coming back to our home dashboard, just back to our landing page for NetSuite. We'll now go through a process flow. We've selected the procure to pay process to go through today, as we feel it would be something that is relevant to all, well, most life science businesses. Now, if there are any processes, or perhaps you've got inventory requirements or anything that you want to look at in more detail, then please, once again, feel free to reach out to us following the session, and we'd be more than happy to discuss further and provide a demonstration on how NetSuite can help your business specifically. So just up here in the top right-hand corner, as mentioned, we've got a view of the different roles in the system, and we'll just change into our purchasing manager here. So whilst this is changing, I'll just have a quick look at the Q&A. So I see that there's been a question. So there's a question asking, all of these reports that we can see, including invoices, are these automatically generated, or has the team uploaded each data set? So all of the transactions are entered directly into NetSuite, and so all of these transactions are all part of the unified database, meaning that all of the reporting functionality flows from there. So you see here we've logged in as our purchasing manager. Now, once again, this is another role and dashboard that comes out of the box. You'll see here that this is focused around all of our procurement requirements. So you'll see once again, we've got our reminders, we've got our KPIs, we've got different sections to make sure the purchasing manager has the visibility of the data that they require. Now, there's various different ways to enter new purchase orders into the system, but just using the tiles here, we can create a new PO from here. So you see here, we have opened up our PO form here. Now, these forms can be customized to make sure that they only hold the information that you need. So all of these fields can be added or removed depending on your requirements. Now, that applies across the board in terms of different transactions. If there are any additional fields that you require, then they can be added in. And that doesn't require any IT resource. That can all be carried out by end users. Now you see here, it's just a case of selecting a couple of different fields here. So if we just enter our supplier, first of all, you'll see that based on our supplier, a lot of the information defaults based on our supplier record. So you see that we have gone to our UK subsidiary. You'll see that our currency has been selected as GBP, which is our main currency for this supplier. You also see here as well, in terms of billing, we have taken all the information that is on this supplier's record, which is automatically pre-filled this here. In terms of the shipping, you'll see that we've picked up information from our UK subsidiary to make sure that we've got the correct ship to address. Now coming here, just enter in a couple of the mandatory fields, which are indicated by the asterisks here. You'll see here as well that although the base currency for this supplier, so the main currency for this supplier is GBP, we do have the option to purchase in different currencies. And you'll see here, as we select the currency, the exchange rate changes based on the information that we've got in the tables in NetSuite. So we just change this back to GBP. You'll see that this user, as well as the purchasing manager, has the option to enter POs on behalf of other employees, but we'll just enter it on behalf of themselves here just now. Now, in terms of entering a PO, it's as simple as going through and entering items. So for this demonstration, we'll just enter some office supplies. So a general item here just for purchasing office supplies. It would then just be a case of entering in the quantity and rate. So we'll just enter 500 just now. Clicking add and then saving the PO. Now, in terms of approval processes, the PO approval process does come out of the box, but there are various different options in terms of how you may want to configure this. So that you may want departmental PO approvals, or you may want hierarchical. These can all be set up in the system using NetSuite's workflow generator. So you'll see here, when we save this PO, it has gone to a status of pending supervisor approval. And if we go into the approvals tab here, you'll see that it is Andy Morgan who has to approve this PO. Now, once again, depending on your preferences, this can be configured to be based on a number of different things, including departmental or hierarchical approval flows. So if we just log back into our CFO, who is Andy Morgan, then we'll approve this PO and carry on with the rest of the process. So you see here, if we refresh our home dashboard, we have now got one purchase request to approve. And if we click in here, you'll see that we've got PO 140 that we just entered into the system just now. Now you see here that if we did have various purchase requests here, then we could bulk approve, but for the sake of this demonstration, we'll just click into the PO here and see that we've got the full level of detail of what was entered onto the PO. Now, we do have the option to approve or reject, but for the sake of time and sake of this demonstration, we'll just approve this PO for the time being. Now, depending on the supplier's preferences, this PO can then be automatically emailed directly to our supplier. So you see here, the status has changed to approved by supervisor and pending receipt. And if we go onto our communication tab and onto our messages, you'll see that we have sent an email of our PO with an attachment to our supplier. Now, of course, these forms would be customized to your own business branding, so make sure that you've got the logo and you've got the PO in the format that you require. This is just an example of how it could look. Now you see here as well that we have got the full audit trail. So in terms of approvals, we've got the information as to who approved this PO and exactly when they did that, as well as the full system information level of data. So making sure here that we've got all the details of who entered what fields and exactly when they did that as well. So now that this is at a status of pending receipt, it would then be up to somebody to actually receive this item in. Now, in terms of receiving items, it is preference whether you would want to receive or go straight to invoice in terms of goods receipting. In this case, this item is set up to be received, so we'll just quickly log into the inventory manager and receive this item. Now, once again, depending on your company's requirements, you may or may not have a requirement for inventory. And once again, it is a row that comes out of the box. So you'll see here, we have got a home dashboard for our inventory manager, which is mainly focused around all of our inventory requirements across the business. Now, if we come here to our reminders, you'll see that we have got 17 orders to receive. Now, once again, just following through from here, you'll see that we've got a list of all of the different POs that we have got to receive. Now, if we just filter this down to our Computer Plus distributors, you'll see here that we have got our PO 140, which is now at the pending receipt stage. Once again, there is the option to bulk receive, but if we do want to go into the original PO and look at the full level of detail and receive from here, then that, of course, is something that we can do. Now, when receiving in NetSuite, we create a separate transaction called an item receipt, but you'll see here that it's got the one-to-one relationship with our original PO. You'll see as well that there is the option to part receive. So say, for example, we ordered 2 items and only received 1. We could part receive and we could keep the PO open to receive at a later date. So now that this PO has been received, it is now over to the AP team to invoice, enter the supplier invoice, and then pay our supplier. So if we just change row once again to our AP analyst, you'll see once again we've got a home dashboard based around what they need to see. So all of the AP and payables information here on their home dashboard. Now, once again, coming to the reminders, we have got our purchase orders to bill, so an indication of all the POs that have been entered into the system but have yet to be invoiced. Now, if we scroll down here, you'll see once again we've got our PO 140. We've got the option to invoice these in bulk, or we can just follow this link once again, and we can enter the invoice from here. Now, with NetSuite, there is the option for a 2-way or 3-way match process. So in this case, as we received the PO into our warehouse, we have a 3-way match process that would now take place. So say, for example, when entering in the supplier invoice, we had actually been invoiced for £1,000, so we had been overcharged by our supplier. That 3-way match process will kick in and look for any variances between the invoice and the original PO, as well as between the invoice and the item receipt. Now you see here, this has gone to a status of pending approval. So the 3-way match process has indicated that there is a bill exception, and that bill exception is that the bill amount exceeds the PO amount. So you'll see that it's checked back against the original PO, which was a value of £500. And since this has been a rate of £1,000, that has been identified as a variance. Now, these variances can be controlled by you in terms of what is acceptable on a supplier by supplier basis or an item by item basis as well as the option to change this across the different subsidiaries. Now, once again, just to show you the full audit information, we've got all of the details here of the invoice that has been entered by this user, but we've also got the full workflow information here as well. So just visibility here that the 3-way match approval process has been carried out. Now that this is at a status of pending approval, we'll just quickly log into the financial controller role and approve this and finish off the process. Now I see that there's a couple of questions that have came into the Q&A there, which I'll address at the end. We should have about 5 minutes at the end to run through these questions, as well as any other questions that anyone has. So you see here, we have logged into our financial controller role, and we have got our reminders indicating that there is one bill to be approved. Now you see here, it is the bill that we entered into the system, and we'll just look and see the detail on that. You see the high level memo there saying that we have got this to approve because the PO amount has been exceeded. Now from here, we can get the full visibility of the supplier invoice that has been entered into the system, as well as the related records. So we can see here just at a glance that the bill total, so the invoice total, is 1,200 and the PO amount is 600. So we can see there that there's a large variance, meaning that we can interrogate this further and look for any reasoning behind this. Now you see here that we do have the option to reject the bill, but once again, just for the sake of time and for the sake of the demonstration, we'll approve the invoice here just now. Now from there, it's then a case of tracking our open supplier invoices, so tracking our AP, for which there are various different reports, one of which is our AP aging summary, which we'll just open up just now. So you see here, our AP aging summary provides a breakdown of our AP across all of our suppliers. You'll see here that we can once again change the context. If we're looking at a specific subsidiary as part of our group structure, we can change the aging options. So as default, it's 3 bands of 30, but we can of course change that, as well as being able to customize the report as well. Now, if we come into our Computer Plus distributors and look at our open balance, you'll see here that we have got the invoice that we entered in. So once again, from here, being able to drill down into the transactional level of detail. Now, beyond that as well, we can also set up reminders. So in this case, the invoice that we entered into the system was due on receipt, but depending on our preferences with our suppliers, that may be net 15, net 30, net 60, and so on. We can keep a track of that age and then provide reminders on the home dashboard to make sure that the AP team have visibility as to when suppliers should be paid for outstanding invoices. Now, in terms of paying our suppliers, there is the option to create a BACS file to automate the payment processing. So if we come in here, you'll see the different options that we've got when creating this file. It's a simple case of selecting our bank account and then selecting the AP account that we wish to make a payment from. So in this case, I'll just do our trade creditors. Now you see there when we entered the bank account, it selected the related bank account format of BACS. But of course, depending on the subsidiary, depending on the country that your company is operating in, this may be a different format. For example, is it ACH in the US, for example? It would just be a case of setting that up and linking the account format to the bank. Now coming down here, you'll see a list of all of the different invoices that we've got available to pay, and it would just be a case of selecting the ones that we want to be included in this payment run and making the payment from there. You'll see as well that we do have the option to filter down based on suppliers and so on. So there's various different functionality there to make sure that the payment process is automated as possible. So that's it for the end-to-end procure-to-pay demonstration today. Hope that's been valuable in terms of seeing, first of all, some of the reporting functionality that comes out of the box with NetSuite, as well as seeing a full end-to-end process and how different users interact with the system. Now, as mentioned, there's been a couple of questions in the chat there, so I will just jump back on and have a look at those questions from there. And once again, please feel free, if anyone's got any further questions, drop them into the Q&A box. So I have had a question here in terms of different systems. So Shopify for e-commerce, Chargebee for subscriptions, Tableau for analytics, Data for finance, HubSpot for CRM, and whether NetSuite has integrations with the above. So yes, we have experience integrating with at least most of them, if not all of them, using our bSyncly integration application. Obviously, this is something that is specific to yourself, so we'd be happy to discuss this in more detail in terms of the information that you would require to flow through from these different systems. Just as well as that, just to highlight that there are options in NetSuite for native CRM capabilities. Of course, we didn't get onto that today, but there is functionality included, which comes out of the box. Now, there's a follow-up question there in terms of interactions with various different medical labs who have medical results of our customers. Can we have that or integration in NetSuite? Each lab has their own data identifiers in different formats they have results in. How can these interactions be entered via NetSuite? So this sounds like it would be something that we'd have to review in a bit more detail just to understand fully the format of that data that would be coming from those different medical labs. But it's definitely something that we can have a look into and look at integrating using our bSyncly integration tool. There has also been a question there in terms of operating across different markets and in different countries and having slightly different processes for each of those countries. So yeah, of course, depending on the company as part of the group structure, there will always be slightly different processes. Now they can be set up as specified within NetSuite. So NetSuite does have all of the data within the one unified database, but depending on the different processes that are required, then different processes can be set up across those different subsidiaries within the system. So that's it for the questions just now. Just leave it a couple of minutes. I know we've got about 4 minutes until the hour. So if there are any further questions, then please feel free to drop them into the Q&A box. As well, if there's any more specific questions, or if you do want to review NetSuite in more detail, then please feel free to reach out following today's session, and we'd be happy to discuss further.